Non mi sembra che abbia la stessa condizione di quest'anno,
The 70th birthday of Felice Gimondi, a man who beat Eddie Merckx here a long time ago, way back in 1966, to pick up his first big win. Going around the shores of Lake Como, the beautiful Lake District, one of the most beautiful areas in the world, in fact, all the way into Lecco on the other side of the lake, exactly where we finished last year. And again, there has been plenty going on the course. It's been raining all day long. It's been forecast like that for a few days. In fact, the riders knew what they were coming up against today. 92% humidity, not too much wind to speak of. There's plenty going on at the start and the finish. Felice Gimondi was there himself, the man who refused to be gobbled up by the cannibal all those years ago. Ivan Basso, one of the pre-race favourites, he's been training hard for this one. There's Davide Cassani as well, having a chat with some of the Italian riders, former Italian man who's now a colleague at Italian television. Astana Radio Shack, last year's winner Oliver Zaug of Switzerland was on hand, as was Chris Horner. A star-studded lineup for the 106th Tour of Lombardy. Well, the big news was that this edition was not just a race around the jagged rises of the land from one of the most beautiful lake districts on the planet, but also a journey through the history of a region steeped in cycling folklore. A man who's been part of that journey was Philippe Gilbert, twice winner of this race, now, of course, the new world champion, hoping to become the first man since Paolo Bettini in 2006 to win this race as world champion. He signed in, a very popular figure in these parts, loves racing in Italy, calls it his second home. And the new Italian champion as well, first chance in a big race to see him, like Alberto Contador, Franco Pellizotti, just back from a doping suspension. Contador, the king of the Vuelta, on his comeback, and also approaching a race that suits his characteristics. So the 70th stage of Felice Gimondi's life underway, and what a way to celebrate it. One of the sport's real legends, and he gave the off in his hometown of Bergamo, the first time that Il Lombardia, or the Tour of Lombardy, got underway from Bergamo, after having finished there 9 times over the years. So it was a start with rain max on, plenty of arm warmers about as well. It's that time of year, it's the race of the falling leaves, and although it has been put forward a couple of weeks as far as the date's concerned, there is plenty of bad weather about. So on to the Moro di Sormano. First time in 50 years that this iconic climb had been used, up to 27% gradient in small places. Romain Bardet of AG Desert led the riders up there. 1960 to 1962 was the last time this was used, back in the pre-technological days where riders were carrying the bikes on their shoulders walking up this. No such scenes today, and as Bardet was chased up by Joaquim Rodriguez, the likes of Vincenzo Nibali was there as well, Bauke Mollema you can see for Rabobank, Uran and Henao of Sky, the now usual Colombian pairing that we see in these sorts of races. Alberto Contador too. But a lot of the big favourites weren't too far away. In fact, Philippe Gilbert, the pre-race man that everybody was talking about, crossed the summit just around 20 or 30 seconds behind that favourites group. But it is what happened on the way down from the Sormano is what everybody will be talking about. Alberto Losada there of Katusha had been in the climb. He was distanced. But on the way down, big news. Philippe Gilbert crashing alongside Paolini and Balan. The new world champion and twice winner of this race, Gilbert, is out, and it's onto the course we go with 50 kilometres to go. Well, sitting alongside me in the comedy box today is Brian Smith. And Brian, an afternoon that has brought us so much already. What else is there to look forward to here in the final 50Ks?
Well, we're on the Gisalo at the moment. A couple of difficult climbs to go towards the finish, but we've only got 30 or 40 riders still left in this bike race. You just see Marino from Katusha there. He actually crashed in the descent of the Sormano as well, just sliding out in one of the corners, and it was treacherous. We had that, you know, that steep climb, but it was equally as steep going down it, and that's why we lost a few of the riders, including Balan and Paolini and Gilbert. where a few others crashed, but they made it back into this peloton. De Luca there in the white, just at the back. Dan Martin, who finished second, just over in the black for Garmin. And yeah, just a limited number of riders in here. A few people thinking, oh, why do you have to put this giant of a climb in? But there you go, and we've got a select group. Okay, we've lost a few good riders, but we've got a very select group. And again, it's going to come down to numbers. Who have you got left in this group? You can see a few of the Euskaltel. Sammy Sanchez just on the right-hand side, the gold helmet. He has been showing some good form. Tour of Britain, World Championships, and you know he's an outsider. So it's going to be a very hard man that wins this race today.
Carlos Betancourt, one of the Colombians there as well. Of course, riding for Aqua Sapone. Good chance we get to see that team. Of course, they weren't in the Giro, surprisingly, this year. One of their men is Danilo Di Luca, as some of the now soaked foot covers come off. Katusha having plenty of representation, though. Joaquim Rodriguez could be one of those we have to look out for today. Spain, remember, have never had a winner of this Lombardia, or the Tour of Lombardy, in 105 previous editions. And you'd argue, with the fact that Contador, who won the other day in the now reinstated Milano-Torino race, and of course Joaquim Rodriguez, who's in the form of his life this year, that they have their best ever options now.
No, for sure they have, and for me, there's another outsider, Kolobnev. You just see Dmitry Konishev there giving him some information from the team car there, and you know he showed well in the Worlds. He was there the last time up the Coburg, went on the attack, but unfortunately didn't have the legs in the end. But for me, Bardet of AG2R has really done the ride of today so far. We've seen him in Amstel Gold do a similar ride, been out front all race. We've got De Wert here from Aviga Pharma chasing him down. But already Bardet has had a great ride so far, but unfortunately his kind of legs have blown out now, and you know back into the fold. But Omega Farmers De Wert is the rider that is what these guys are just trying to control at the moment. A couple of Sky riders, then Uran just having a bit of lunch. You can see that the new kit from Vacon Soleil with more of a Bianchi blue. Kunigo there in the pink and the blue. Simon Clark with the same stage winner King of the Mountains in the Vuelta. So we're starting to see some good riders still left in the front of this race. Bok Malima just taking a gel for Rabobank in the orange. Van Avermaet to the fore, but as we see this group being led by Katusha, they believe that they have got a winner in here. They've got some numbers in this front group, and they want to look at Rodriguez. For me, favourites have to be Contador, Uran for Sky, Rodriguez we've mentioned, and let's not forget Nibali of Liquigas.
Nibali of Liquigas, Ivan Basso's there as well towards the front. It's a really star-studded lineup for this one. Remember Diego Lisi for Lampre, who came second the other day to Alberto Contador on the way up to Superga. That wonderful climb just down the outskirts of Turin, the scene of so much sporting history in a soccer sense as well of a cycling sense, with the tragic death of the Grande Torino team in the 1950s there. But these are the views around Lombardy and Lake Como. Down into Lecco for the second successive year, after last time it really was peltering down with rain a couple of years ago when Gilbert won into Como itself. And as Brian said, it's a tiring old day. Just to remind you, 251 kilometres today from Bergamo to Lecco, 4,000 metres uphill, 2,400 of those climbing metres in the last 93 kilometres alone. The return of the Muro di Sormano really did shake things up as we expected it to be. 50 years since its last pain-inducing inclusion. Modern technology and, of course, the fitness of the riders, meaning that it was a rather different ascent this time. But those names of the 1962 ascent etched onto the tarmac by the many big cycling fans around. We're on our way up to Madonna del Ghisallo at the moment, the scene of a cycling museum. They're trying to collect as many of the Maglia Rosa Giro d'Italia winners' jerseys as possible. Their target is 50. Ivan Basso dedicated the first a couple of years ago. I'll tell you that Ryder Hagedal has been doing that again in the last couple of days. There is Basso, second up, followed by Betancourt. Brian as well mentioned Damiano Cunego. Until this year, he was the last Italian to win a classic at this race in 2008. That's until Enrico Gasparotto got his winning. And Contador's been looking great since he got back, of course. Superb win in the Vuelta. It's almost written that he was going to do that this year, you think, don't you, Brian?
Yeah, it was a very difficult race. Moved his form on a few weeks. Won during the week, the Milan-Turin, and yeah, he looks to be one of the favourites. You just see Omega Farmer there, the Cataldo, who's off to Sky. Just an Omega Farmer quick step outfit, but we had BMC do a lot of riding earlier on. Unfortunately, they've now lost two of their strong men. That is Gilbert and Balan. So now the red and the white jerseys of Katusha coming to the fore. They believe they have got some strong numbers. Kolobnev up towards the front, Danny Marino, Rodriguez. So, you know, they have got different cards to play. Moving up on the left-hand side, you get the Italian champion, Perlizzotti. But we have a very select group here of about just over 30 riders.
42 seconds between Romain Bardet and the big selection of huge stellar cycling names here in the Giro di Lombardia. Franco Belizzotti there in the Italian Tricolore. Champion, of course, on his return from a doping suspension. The main man to be hit by the biopassport scheme so far. But he's back. He's riding well. He's now running for Androni, who's since changed their sponsor title. Now Androni Giocattoli Venezuela. And a big selection of riders here on the Lombardy. Last big race of the season. Last big race, as Brian mentioned, for certain riders in certain teams. A lot of transfer activity going on. Dario Cataldo was one of those names mentioned.
Well, they've actually moved this race, you know, forward a couple of weeks, and again, maybe thinking of the weather, but unfortunately today, as soon as the riders took off from the start in Bergamo, the rain came down. But you know, 11 riders took off from the start. 10 riders took off from the start, including Sella, Chavez, Lozada, Rocchetti, Bardet, Morabito, Locatelli, Salerno, Schlachter, and Sorensen. And it was, for me, Bardet. You only get caught in the Gisalo. There was this man that went on the attack at the bottom of the Gisalo, Divert, and you know, he's brought back, and now we've got one lone leader from Omega Pharma, and that's Divert on his own, and he's increased that advantage to about 50 seconds at the moment. No real teams wanting to ride that hard. AG2R have got a few riders. They've got Nuscentini, the Italian rider, just sitting in there. They've got about 3 riders in this group, so a very select group, and it's going to be a very hotly contested final here. Now that Gilbert is not here, a lot of riders will be starting to think that they could possibly win this. Contador, I'm not too sure if he's got many teammates left. Looking down this group, I can't even see one teammate with him. For Saxo Bank Tinkoff, and he'll really have to think, how can I win this with no teammates? So the only way he can possibly win it is by going on the attack and maybe dragging a couple of riders with him. But he tried to force the pace on Sermano. Rodriguez was equal to him, and a few other riders were equal to him as well. So for me, Nibali, he's going to go on the attack and try and use it downhill like we've seen him in the past. Uran, you know, a win recently during the week as well. So there's all sorts of people in this front group that could win, and yeah, we're just going over the top of the Gisalo at the moment, and there is the we've passed the museum, and there's the kind of monastery at the top.
The Sanctuary and Museum of Cycling, the Madonna del Gisalo. Wonderful collection if you're ever in the area to nip inside and have a look. There's all sorts of bikes and jerseys and wonderful little things. There's Alberto Losada doing a great job on the front for Katusha. So remembering that he was, of course, in the breakaway as well, and he's back working hard now. Superb bit of work for the likes of Joaquim Rodriguez. Really good stuff for him. Moreno was in there as well, as Brian mentioned. Interesting you talk about Contador. One man who was still there for Contador is his big mate from Astana, Paolo Tiralongo. Perhaps could count on him as things go on, but Tiralongo has himself this year shown that he is, of course, a man to try and achieve his own goals now.
Well, you've also got a couple of riders in here from Garmin there, just passing as the Giro, Tour of Italy winner. That's Heisedal, Dan Martin second last year. He's also in this front group. He's wearing obviously the black kind of rain jacket, but as we go over the top of the Gisalo, De Vert of Omega Pharma, who went on the attack pretty much at the bottom of the climb. They swept up Bardet on the way up, and now De Vert is 41 seconds over the top with 45 kilometres to go.
45 k's to go. Mentioned the descent and the possibilities for Nibali. It's technical as it is. Certainly the last descent from Villa Vergano, the final little climb to 522 metres, all the way down into Lecco. It's around 9.5 kilometres long. And of course the rain, as we've seen already with the fall of Balan, Paolini and the big name Gilbert out, is going to make it even more difficult. Could that play into Nibali's hand, do you think?
Oh, for sure. But you can only get down these climbs so fast. And we've seen coming off the Sermano, Bardet was having problems taking his foot out and round corners and trying to push it. If you push it too far, you risk crashing. So I think Contador, Rodriguez can handle him in the descent.
Dealing with the challenges ahead requires focus, concentration, and a will to succeed. The International University Sports Federation, representing 163 countries, promotes sports values in tune with the academic spirit. Thousands of students from around the world participate in the events it organizes. And what do they learn? Friendship, integrity, cooperation, and achievement. The International University Sports Federation, excellence in mind and body.
The Formula Renault 3.5 Series, part of the World Series by Renault, now more than ever the gateway to F1. This year, Formula Renault 3.5 is changing. The car's more modern, more powerful. With the latest developments in technology, it's even closer to Formula One. After Sebastian Vettel, Robert Kubica and Alguersuari, Daniel Ricciardo and Jean-Éric Vergne this season, who will be next to reach the pinnacle? "26 drivers compete for a title that may open the ultimate door. For the very best, like Robert Wickens in 2011, a test with Team Red Bull Racing Renault. 9 weekends across Europe, 17 races, including support races at the Monaco Grand Prix and the FIA World Endurance at Silverstone. For more information, worldseriesbyrenault.com.
Sea level, or we should say lake level here. Valbrona they'll pass through, on the way down to Valmadrera, up towards Oggiorno, then the final climb, Villa Vergano, before down into Lecco, our finishing town today, which lies at 202 metres above sea level. Lots of work being done by Katusha here. Of course, their big man in the team, Joaquim Rodriguez, not only looking for the win here, but looking for the win that would take him above Bradley Wiggins on the UCI's ranking. That's one of his stated aims. He was talking to the local press this morning about that. Ivan Basso has kept himself fairly quiet over the second half of this season. A wonderful place for him to win. Of course, he lives not too far away from here in Varese. A lot of riders train around these areas, even those based just over the border in Switzerland. And Vincenzo Nibali's one of those after relocating from Tuscany this year. I think it's his girlfriend who goes to university in Switzerland, hence the relocation. the back of the peloton on the way down from Ghisallo. And here's the man, De Wet, who's been out in front doing his bit. He's blowing hard. He knows that it's a losing battle, even when you start it here, Brian.
Well, I'll tell you what, he went on the attack at the bottom of the Ghisallo, and okay, he's only sitting 36 seconds down. I think the maximum he got was 50 seconds, but it just means that Cataldo can just sit back. He's sitting in about 5th place in the peloton at the moment, and you know, just nice and easy. The last year's winner, Oliver Zalk, just sitting at the back. He was probably distanced a wee bit. He made his way back on the everybody was all over the place, but there was a general regroupment and a tricky descent. But Zalk is, I'm not too sure if he's got maybe one teammate with him, but he was a surprise winner last year. He's not done a lot since, but he's there in this front group, which shows that he's got some reasonable form. You can say the same thing about Basso with Liquigas. He came to Tour of Britain and he done well. He was getting in the breaks going up the road, and it just goes to show you that the 8 days of the Tour of Britain, he's come here, and you know, he's riding hard. He's there in this front group, and it will all be for Nibali. And you know, we'll just have to wait and see if we are going to have you know, another Italian winner this year in one of the major classics. But for me, you've got to think that Contador and Rodriguez, possibly Sammy Sanchez as well, are you know, Sammy Sanchez has been up there in this race in the past. So it's going to be difficult to have another winner here, and you can't discount the likes of Iran as well. So there's so many. This is a very select group. Haizdal was on the attack at the bottom of the Ghisallo as well, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting because we have got depleted numbers and teams. We've got, I think, the maximum maybe 4 riders from one team. That looks as if Katusha are in the driving seat, but they're already using one up at the front at the moment. But there's not many riders with many teammates left, and maybe get the legs for this last climb. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, a lot of riders retiring normally in this race. Of course, at the end of the season, it's hard. There's not much juice left in the legs, certainly after the big sigh, after the preparation for the World Championships, the welter before that. We saw Oliver Zalk become the 5th Swiss winner last year. In fact, he was the 4th man to win it. Tony Rominger won twice in '89 and '92. Kabat-Zinn and Richard, the previous Swiss winners, have been the first for around 13 years. Last year, I remember piecing things together to try and interview him at the end, and he was such a surprise winner that nobody knew enough about his career. It was amazing. And as you say, Brian, he's not really done too much since, but it's great to see him in touch at the back there as we see De Wet ahead for Quick Step at the front. 23 seconds, working hard.
You got to remember sometimes, you know, the saying is you got to be in it to win it, and you know, he was in the right place at the right time, and possibly, you know, Zalk is one of these riders that works a lot for other riders, and he doesn't always get his chance. But it just goes to show you that, you know, there's so many riders that you know, give up the possibility of winning a race like this, or winning a classic for someone else, or the team leader, and you know, they're strong enough to win the races themselves if they have a good day, which Zalk was on last year. So but this is what, you know, Lusada is doing a tremendous amount of work at the moment for Katusha, and you know, maybe given his own, if everybody was to ride for himself, maybe, you know, Lusada would be an outsider. But this is what happens. You have your leader, and you've got to do your job, and you've got to ride hard on the front for as long a period as possible, and that's what they're called, domestics. But a lot of these domestics, you just don't pluck them out the lower level teams. They are possibly race winners of their own right, but they sacrifice themselves for you know, other people.
Well, Paolo Di Longo, great example of that, and we saw him come to more prominence this year when given a free rein, or let's say he took his own free rein at the Giro d'Italia, not necessarily given to it. I know he made a couple of emojis in that Astana team, one of which was Roman Kreuziger. There is Zalk again, in the Radio Shack man, we seem to see it there. Lampre had the presence of Cunego further up. Yeah, number 147 for them in your pictures, Manuele Mori. Vaconsoleil, as Brian said, changed their kit. Marco Marcato, another Italian man in there.
Well, Lampre in the pink and blue have got a few riders in here. We say every team doesn't have that many, as Basso just been a bit choosy at what he gets at the feed zone there. He just took a bottle, and normally these bottles are marked with, if there's an X on it, it means that it's it's got obviously some nutritional value in it, or if it's just nothing, it's normally water. So he's probably looked at it and what, I don't want water, I want nutrition. So the X's are probably the ones with the the energy in the bottle. So he's just been a wee bit choosy. And you have to be, because this is a hard classic, 251 kilometres with these climbs, and you just see the face of the leader at the moment, Duvert, and he's starting to pull some. 20 seconds lead with just under 36 kilometres to go.
So just under 36 to go. We'll be back with the rest of the race in just a minute. We're off for a quick commercial break.
CD cycling shoes.
The Formula Renault 3.5 Series, part of the World Series by Renault, now more than ever the gateway to F1. This year, Formula Renault 3.5's changing. The car's more modern, more powerful. With the latest developments in technology, it's even closer to Formula One. After Sebastian Vettel, Robert Kubica and Alguersuari, Daniel Ricciardo and Jean-Eric Vergne this season, who will be next to reach the pinnacle? "26 drivers compete for a title that may open the ultimate door. For the very best, like Robert Wickens in 2011, a test with Team Red Bull Racing Renault. 9 weekends across Europe, 17 races, including support races at the Monaco Grand Prix and the FIA World Endurance at Silverstone. For more information, worldseriesbyrenault.com.
CD cycling shoes.
.3 kilometres to go. Duvert sitting upright and looking absolutely spent. Quick bit of refueling gels and energy drinks have been taken on. We saw Ivan Basso a moment ago. A turn of Vaconsoleil riders to do the same now. Big select group here. There's some stretching out is done by Danilo Di Luca. Who can survive? Who can keep going? Remember last year they were dropping like flies from start to finish in this race. 30-odd riders left, and all getting ready for the big finale now. On their way down, and that'll be fairly flat until just around, I'd say, 22 or so kilometres to go. That's when the final climb will begin. Villa Vergano. It's not too much of a big one, but there are some big ramps in it. And all the way down, 9.5 Ks downhill and flat. The last 2.5 in the town of Lecco itself, a lovely lakeside town, where Di Luca, who has been improving, alongside Carlos Betancourt. Good support for him. We'll hope to have options. Euskaltel, again, more options of a Spanish win. We mentioned briefly earlier on that Spain had yet to win this in 105 editions. It's a race that as you pointed out to me, Brian, hasn't always been this difficult, but it's certainly not a flat classic. It bewilders me why we've not had one single Spanish winner.
Yeah, same here. There's plenty of riders capable of winning this from Spain. They have changed over the years, the different parkours, and we've seen some sprint finishes. We've seen some very difficult and split all over the place finishes, and yeah, we've got riders in the past. We just have to say the 3 times world champion Oscar Ferreira was very capable of winning this race, and yeah, this year could be very different with Sammy Sanchez still in this group and a couple of teammates with him. That's Sammy Sanchez just on the left-hand side, just in the orange and the gold helmet, hanging on to being that Olympic champion 4 years ago. So still got the gold shoes and the gold helmet there, just sitting at the back. But he does have a couple of teammates to help him. And but more importantly, Joaquim Rodriguez and another crash here. This is what we're saying, crashes all the time here. Rabobank involved in the bulk Molima, and
there's a Liquigas rider as well.
Yeah, Tirolongo, it's down for Astana. So yeah, it's just a bit of touch of just losing it, and some diesel or something dropped in the corner, and down you go. This has been happening in every descent, and Tirolongo just taking a bit of a sore one now.
Well, the thing is, the roads are great around these regions, but of course there's a lot of oil can come out in that. There's Paulo Tirolongo, we can confirm that,
Nibali.
And it's Nibali. Wow. Well, Ivan Basso was wearing the #1 in the team as the man in charge, but Nibali, you have to think, had been their main bet today. Didn't go right from at the World Championships last week. He took a lot of stick in the Italian press, and now it's he who's gone down.
Hang on, that's 2 separate incidents. They went down separately, and I think it is Molima went over the top, or was it Ten Dam? They went separately. I can only think there's been something on the road, just a bit of diesel or something. That's all you do, just nice and easy around. The reason why they hurt themselves, they weren't actually going that fast. And sometimes that's what happens, but you can just see going down the lower slopes of this small climb, he's lost all his confidence now, and we've seen him in the past going on the attack, going down descents, but he'll be very wary after just crashing there. But this is the slow crashes that sometimes you break bones, especially scaphoid in your hand, because you put your full weight down on your hand when you go down. So looks as if him and Divert now goes off, so it's treacherous conditions all the way, and yeah, we're seeing loads of crashes today, and just hope everybody stays well. And if Divert on his own is crashing, then what's going to happen to the bunch when they go around here? It's just sliding out here. That's simple, just sliding out. It's like glass.
That is crazy. Certainly not a big angle he's turning. He's taking it with extreme precaution, you see there. But it's not good for him, nor the rest of the peloton. His day is over out in front. He's hurting, his confidence is shot at, and again we've had some big riders go down behind as well. 30 Ks to go. It's so unpredictable, anything can happen, and as we've seen, Brian, anybody who's in the lead going up towards that final climb on the final descent could have their lead eaten up as well. Now, is this Ivan Basso on the front for Liquigas? It certainly won't be Vincenzo Nibali, after you saw him going down at the back pretty hurt. There certainly won't be any attacks here. All about how you take the corners, but as we've seen, and as Brian suggested, it's so slippy, it's so dangerous, that even that might not save you. The race of the falling leaves becoming the race of the falling riders, I'm afraid. Well, Ten Dam, nowhere to be seen. He was first back on his bike, to be fair. He's probably a little bit further up the road. Tirolongo there and Nibali taking their time. Now this must be Ivan Basso. Losada behind him. Basso knows these roads well. But again, it doesn't matter how you know them. If the conditions aren't right, then they're not right.
Well, this is his corner again. He just goes round, doesn't bank it over too much, just starts to put the pressure down on the pedals, and on your side at that low speed, you get your full body weight, and that's when it hurts. But you know, back to the front of the race, and Losada has to do what he has to do, and Basso will now be thinking, well, is Nibali coming back? How's his confidence? Because you know, Basso looks as if he's riding well. He's now waving riders through because he wants to go back and find out how Nibali is, because maybe on this next climb, Basso might be giving his the green light to go himself.
Basso in conversation, looking back where he is. I'm sure there's been a lot of chat in the team cars and amongst the peloton as to what has happened back there. But they must ride their own races here. Losada is riding the race of his life. Here we go, it's attack time.
Ferrari da Costa goes from Movistar, and they have got a couple of options here with Quintana as well, the Colombian climber, the amount of motorbikes in the front here. So he just decides, right, now's the time. Doesn't want to wait till this final climb. And he had a fantastic Plouet with finishing second, and you know, going on the attack in the final few kilometres. So not wanting to wait until the climb, wants to go in the flat beforehand.
Rui Costa is off then, the Portuguese of Movistar, who've had a bad couple of days with people pulling out before the start. Alejandro Valverde, their leader for this race, pulled out with the flu just before we got underway. No Andre Amador either, he was out. Their team including the likes of Bruseguin, Rui Costa, José Iván Gutiérrez, Pablo Lastras, Quintana, we've seen in this group, and Gio Visconti. Here's the man they've all come to see though. Happy 70th birthday, Felice Gimondi. So Felice Gimondi arriving at the finish line. He was there at the start to wave them off, and he's come to see the end. Looking well for his 70th year. Much loved figure, but he tries to shy away from the limelight. I know he wasn't too enamoured about having the start change from Milan. When he was told that it was starting from Bergamo, he was not too happy about it. Of course, talked round into starting them off today.
Well, a good move here for Movistar with Ferrari da Costa deciding to go on the attack on the flat. They know that everybody's just looking at Katusha to ride, and you know, Losada is just going to ride tempo to the bottom of the climb. Nobody else is really interested in setting a hard tempo because you know, they're depleted in numbers, and Ferrari da Costa has gone off, and he knows that come this last climb you will have Joaquim Rodriguez, Contador, Uran and these guys, and he possibly thinks that he can't go with them on the climb, so he wants to try and get a bit of time, maybe 20 or 30 seconds. You can just see Dan Martin taking off his black jacket at the back for Garmin Barracuda, so he's getting ready to race second in the race last year, just wanting to hand his rain jacket in and get some benefit from that in the last 26 kilometres.
Oh, we'll see where he is when we get towards the end here. Garmin having good options, Lampre as well. And here they are. Tiralongo shouting his way past the car.
Nibali doesn't look happy at all. Confidence gone. Nibali just a bit of a frown when he passed there, and yeah, I'm not too sure. Nibali, I think Basso will be moving towards the back as we've seen. We'll be having a wee chat with Nibali, and possibly Basso will be giving a nod. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Just see Basso. I think it's the last man for Liquid Gas, just waiting for the team leader.
Well, they need to find out sooner or later, because of course that attack, certainly if it's Basso, has to come on the way up towards Vila Vergano. In the meantime, it's Rui Costa of Portugal and Movistar, the Spanish team, out ahead. Of course, it was great for them to see Alejandro Valverde back in contention in the Grand Tour this year. 6 hours they've been in the saddle now, 26 Ks to go, and these roads at least looking a little less treacherous for the moment. But there is one big technical descent still to come.
There's a chat. Nibali and Basso having a chat with each other as expected. What do we do now? And Basso, as the experienced rider, has to say, look, you know, get your act together. Okay, you've fallen off, but you can still win this race. So, you know, if I was Basso, that's what I would be saying. You know, come on, get yourself together and trying to help, because he's still got some good form. He can still win this race, and so it'll be interesting to see what they say after the finish.
Certainly will be. It's an interesting transitional year, is Ivan Bassa this year, of course. Perhaps finally realising in the Giro this year that Grand Tour leadership is now not for him anymore. And playing second fiddle to Nibali in a lot of occasions. I wonder how well or how badly he's accepting that role. Perhaps, you never know what's been said there. You suggested what might have been said, but maybe he's trying to convince Nibali that it's his turn today.
I would think it would be more of an encouragement, as Basso, I don't think has got maybe the form to beat the likes of Contador or Rodriguez, but Nibali can. But Naevi, as we go into this tunnel, has decided to have a go. We did say that there were 3 or 4 of the orange jerseys of Euskaltel. But for Ida Costa's looking behind, he's not giving a 100%. He's waiting for maybe someone like Naevi to come across to him and help. He doesn't want to give 100% in the flat and then hit the climb with nothing left in his legs. So he's trying to hit the climb with a bit of an advantage, expecting the likes of Rodriguez and Contador and these guys to attack and bring them up. So he wants to start with something in hand.
Well, this is a little reference to what we mentioned earlier on today. Joaquim Rodriguez Oliver, whose name has been misspelt there by our Italian horse broadcaster. Joaquim, obviously a Catalan name with an M at the end, but he's just a few points behind Bradley Wiggins here, 9 points behind Wiggins, in fact, and a win today can take him into the top of the UCI World Rankings. That was his pre-stated aim. Good place to end the season like that, after what has been a superb year for him. Now, we mentioned Mikel Nieve going on the attack there. He has history in Italy. Think back to Gardeccia just over a year ago on the Giro d'Italia, one of the most wonderful stage wins that we have ever seen in Italian road racing. Trying to try it again. This time it's a rather different scenario, a lot less climbing, but again, legs perhaps just as tired. Interesting to see if they can get a little group together at the front.
Well, that's the only problem having these tunnels. You don't always get the pictures from the TV, so that's why sometimes we don't see what happens in them. So the helicopter just hovering, waiting for the riders to emerge from the Lytton tunnel.
So we'll wait for that. Lots of these tunnels in around this part of the world, by the way. Of course, a lot of the hills and mountains rising straight out of the lake. It is stunningly beautiful. But here they come. Nieve alongside Rui Costa. It is Rui Costa emerges first. Question is, has Nieve continued to go? He certainly has. Again, looking back though.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of an advantage, less than 200 metres, and you know, that's what you have to do. They do have 4 riders in this front group of just over 30 riders, and you know, not everybody's just going to wait until this last climb, because we are going to see attacks from, you know, some of the riders like Contador and Rodriguez. So what's the point of sitting back? I mean, you've got numbers. You can just see the pink and blue riders of Kunigo's team. Ulisi also in there, an outsider, so they've got 4 riders. Euskaltel have got 4 riders, so you just don't want to sit back and wait for the attack. So it's good to see that Euskaltel Skadi have thought, right, okay, we have to have different options here, try and send somebody down the road. If Sammy Sanchez is feeling good, then, you know, you never know. But for Ida Costa is still the sole leader. He's only got, what, about 20 seconds, 30 seconds at the moment, and nobody really reacting. But for the last, what, 10, 15 kilometres as we come off the Gisalo, it's all been Lusada at the front. One rider from Katusha has been sitting at the front of this group. So everybody's sitting and waiting for this last climb.
Well, think back to the fact that he was in the break as well. He has got through a mountain of work today. A lot of these riders, of course, coming off a very difficult week last week, working for their leaders. Of course, De Wet, we saw him crucial for Belgium last week, and Philippe Gilbert in that win. A lot of that work means sore legs today. .4 kilometres to go, approaching home, and riders dropping out all the way. This is what happened earlier on. Ballan went, and did Luca Paolini. And out of your picture, I'm afraid, as did the world champion, Philippe Gilbert. There's his bike going into the car. We saw some other pictures of it. It looked fairly mangled and fairly nasty, I'm afraid. The good news is that all three riders seem to be fine. Gilbert, or none of the others, were whisked off to medical treatment facilities. Even though there is an ambulance there, they were all fine. Gilbert in the car, not inside the ambulance. And I'm afraid it's just a retirement for those three riders. What it has done has left the field wide open for the win here. Promised to be a spectacular, exciting and emotional Tour of Lombardy for the 106th time. At the minute, we have this situation. Rui Costa out in front of Movistar. 21.6 kilometers to go. We're on the flat currently, heading towards the final climb of the day, which is a little descent to Villa Vergano.
Yeah, this is what we thought. Basso going back to the back and encouraging Nibali to, as we say, get his act together, give him that extra motivation to come up, and have brought him up towards the front, ready for this final climb. Just going through some of Joaquim Rodriguez is there, Contador following up the three amigos, Sammy Sanchez just behind, Simon Clark popping up for Green Edge, Uran, and just on the far side there, Henao for the Sky team. So yeah, it's all going to come down to fireworks in this final climb, but still in front we do have Ferrari da Costa of Movistar. He does have Quintana, another of his teammates in this group. It's yeah, Rabobank having two riders. I think it's Ten Dam and Molima. One of the riders there for Giovanni there, and that's Rubiano Chavez just at the back. So Dan Martin just over the far side for Garmin. So yeah, Bettencourt we've mentioned for Aquas and Pon. They've also got Daniel De Luca, one of the riders in there for Farnese Vini, and yeah, it's just going to everybody just sitting back and waiting for this final climb.
Alberto Contador, number 221. One of the many in a big Spanish contingent. The Italians back. Nibali there, shepherded back up towards the front by Ivan Basso. And as Brian says, it's get your act together time, or move on and let others do that work. Basso in front. Movistar have plenty of options. Good to see such a great selection of riders this late in the season, concentrated into such a small bunch. It makes for very exciting racing. Of course, with the winner of the Giro here as well, Ryder Hejdahl. Looks as though he's putting in a nice, quiet, good ride alongside Dan Martin today.
Yeah, he's just moving up on the left-hand side with a couple of the Sky boys just in front. You can just see the Euskaltel with Skadi, with four riders also in there. So everybody just... Ryder just goes the wrong, or went to go the wrong way there, and just checks that as they jump across these traffic islands. But yeah, it's been a hard day for a lot of these riders. The conditions early on, we're inside the last 20 kilometres. We have Ferrari da Costa from Movistar in front. He only has about 20 odd seconds, and everybody again just sitting behind Katusha. Katusha are thinking of Joaquim Rodriguez. He says he wants to win this, as you said, Robbie. He wants to get the points as well. You've also got the Italian champion in there, just in the bottom of the picture, Pelazzotti. So yeah, it's open to anybody. It's anybody's race, and Katusha taking it with both hands at the moment.
They certainly are. Well, this last climb, the Salita di Elio, as it's known, all the way up to Villa Vergano, it could have nice big ramps, quite short bursts of big gradients for people like Rodriguez to attack on. It goes up to 15% close to the very top. We've got sections at around 6%, 11%. It's 3.25 kilometers long. And of course, 239 meters of climbing. So it could be dead set for somebody like Rodriguez to really have a go close to the top as it gets a little harder.
Well, they have used Lusada up. They're using Marino up, just so Nordog for Team Sky coming to the front. So that says to me that he's just spoken to Hanau and Iran, and both of them are feeling good. So this man's still ploughing away. He's got just over 20 seconds, we believe, of an advantage attacking on the flat when everybody was just sitting behind Lusada. So again, most of the teams moving their riders. No real panic. They're moving the riders up towards the front because you really want to be on the wheel of the likes of Rodriguez and Contador when they do go on the attack. As you see, Nordog at the front for the Team Sky. Behind them, you've got the Lamprey riders, and the fluorescent bike is sitting third place as Cunigo, and Tiralongo has moved up towards the front. Movistar rider is Quintana. And then you start to get into you know, some sore legs in this group as you get further down the line.
Well, good moment to mention that you mentioned there are 3 or 4 Euskaltel riders in there. They've got plenty of motivation, of course, to win this and win it and dedicate it to the memory of Victor Cabello, who tragically was killed in a traffic accident a couple of weeks ago. He was 23 years of age in his first year as a pro. Certainly not a good moment for cycling or his family.
Well, it's looking good for them at the moment. Igor Anton was one of the Euskaltel riders up towards the front. As we said, Sami Sanchez is here, Naevi, and they've got one other rider, so they have got plenty of options. Anton, not the best of welter, but he's still strong enough. But this is the man setting the pace at the front, just looking further down the road. He doesn't have, he's got the service motorbike just on the left-hand side, doesn't have a car in the gap, which means that the gap is not over 30 seconds at the moment. Just looking down the road if they come into to view, but it looks as if it's just over 20 seconds.
"26 seconds for Rui Costa." It's now Lampre who come to do some of the work at the front. Mentioned that Damiano Cunego knows what it takes to win this race, but it certainly wasn't quite as hard 4 years ago when he took the win. This has been a monstrously difficult day. Look how dark it is. It's been raining on and off for the last few days. It's got considerably worse this morning. It's been quite muggy and warm in the north of Italy this week. All that rain has been building up and it exploded as everybody looked out in the curtains this morning. But they knew it was coming. They've been training on these hills for the last couple of days. Of course, it's been a renewed week of big cycling in Italy this year. They brought the Milano-Torino back. That race was won by Contador on Wednesday. Gran Piemonte the day afterwards on Thursday. Yesterday off. And all the big boys turning up for this one. There's a bit of democratic negotiation going on at the front between Sky and Lampre.
Well, that's what I was saying just earlier. There's no big strength in a lot of the teams. Looks as if it's Anton that comes to the front for Euskaltel, but you know, when you're depleted in numbers and you're riding at you know, 30 odd miles an hour, and you know, you flick your elbow over, and everybody just wants to sit back and wait and save some energy for this final climb. This is a man doing a good ride. We did say the man of the day, I think, has to be Bardet of AG2R. He got caught on the Gisalo after being in a group of 10 right from the start. We've seen that he's a rider of the future. And we've seen what he can do this year already in a couple of classics today in Lombardia and Amstel Gold. But back in this peloton with the gold helmet, Sami Sanchez just starting to concentrate, and a few riders starting to move up towards the front. No real panic because there's only about 30 odd riders left, so you can easily move up towards the front. It's all about staying in the top 10, 15 and staying out the wind. The two riders with the E in their back of Cervelo as Martin and Heisedal, and I think it's Martin. It's moving up. Dan Martin is moving Heisedal up towards the finish, or the front of the bunch. Sorry. So 17 seconds, not a lot. 14 kilometres to go. It's going to happen in this final climb.
Well, those Garmin riders in stealth fashion up to now, but I think the moment where cards are going to be shown and laid on the table is approaching, and approaching fast. We've seen that with the likes of Mori, Ulissi and Cunego. There are the Garmin riders themselves. Euskaltel Euskadi with presence. Nibali falling for the second year in a row on this race is in there, but a long way towards the back now. In the meantime, Rui Costa is conserving his energy.
Yeah, as the rain starts to come down a wee bit heavier now, Rui Costa knows that it's all over for him. He played his card early, expecting maybe 1 or 2 riders to come across. It didn't happen. They don't really want to chase him down and bring him back. It was just the fact that there was a bit of an increase in pace at the front of the bunch, trying to get position for this final climb. It does look as if Heyzedal in second place is looking after Dan Martin. Let's not forget he was second last year, and very good. You know, he has a very good Lombardia, and you know, he'll have some great confidence coming to form at the right time. So let's not discount Dan Martin here today, but it's Nordog from Team Scar riding at the front, also AG2R. You've got the Italian rider in there of Nuscentini. Tiro Longo bringing his Kesiakov up towards the front as well. So everybody's starting to move towards the front for this final climb, as we see the murk and the rain started. And it's like 2 years ago when Gilbert won. It's such an atmospheric, dramatic finish here in Lombardia.
Well, you get this side of weather all throughout winter. It tends to be more sunny in the winter rather than the autumn and spring where they get more rain, but they still get this mist around. If you're ever flying into Milan, you've always the big danger that it's going to be closed for fog during the winter months. Cyclists having the same problem here. It's misty, it's raining, it's cold, it's pretty horrible, but there's a road race to be won, and there are plenty of options for those who want it. Now, this climb over the next 3 and a bit kilometres that's just about to start here, is it long enough and steep enough for someone like Alberto Contador to isolate himself enough for 9.5 Ks towards the end?
I don't think so. I don't think... I think it'll be maybe 3 or 4 riders. I'm not too sure that from what I've seen today in the early pictures and the climbs and what's happened. I know he won Milan-Torino on a finishing climb, but I think this is a different scenario, and it's going to be very difficult for a sole rider to attack on this climb and go all the way to the finish. I think it'll be a small group that'll come over and probably come in towards the finish.
Lecco di Longovario alongside Lake Ladio. That's where we're finishing, and you can see the signs with the hundreds of metres counted down. The bad weather hasn't put the people off. They're still here, and they're here in their big numbers. 6 hours, 18 minutes they've been riding, and there is huge anticipation of the race that is about to blow up. Certainly hoping that the weather's going to clear enough for our helicopters to get us some pictures in just a moment, because this is where the action is going to happen now. Mentioned Contador, mentioned that it might be not difficult enough for him, that downhill stretch. I'm sure he'll have a go nonetheless. And it's about time to have a go if you're going to do that. Here we go. Euskaltel riders jockeying for position.
A riconoscere ed è Marco Marcato del team Vacanzolei, che tra l'altro corre la formazione Vacanzolei, formazione olandese con una maglia celebrativa. L'altro campionato oggi la maglia era stata di 8 coppi, come i vertici di RC sul forte questa mattina durante il podio firma. 12 dall'arrivo, attacco di Marco Marcato, Vacanzolei.
Just struggling with our pictures at the moment with all the rain and cloud around. There has been an attack, and it's the first attack that's come from Vacanzolei. Euskaltel try to respond as well. Difficult at the moment to get down and see exactly who those riders are with the picture breakup, I'm afraid. Here we go. It's Marco Marcato who's gone out there, I think. He was one of the Vacanzolei men back in that group of around 30. He's on his way up now on the climb of Salita di Ello. Salita, of course, climb in Italian. On the way up to Villa Vergano. It gets progressively harder as we get to the top. 6.1% it averages over the first couple of kilometres. Then it goes to 11.7% before that final maximum 15% on the way over the top. Chasers coming all the way, and coming all the way in the shape of Alberto Losada, who's still going.
Is in fact Kolobnev going for Katusha, so you know, playing their cards earlier on, and Rodriguez is just going to sit back. So Kolobnev is the man on the attack for Katusha, trying to take the pressure off Rodriguez.
11.5 Ks to go. This is hard, this is epic, it is huge. The action playing out now. Options are plenty for big teams. Farnese Vini rider trying to have a go. Of course, those big riders who can climb have to have a go. It's their moment. If descending isn't your thing, certainly in these conditions, then you cannot wait. Marco Marcato attempting to do an Oliver Zaug on us.
And it's actually rider Hazardale was bringing everything back. You know, Dan Martin must be feeling good. He's been quiet all today, and you know, with about 26 kilometres to go, he took off his you know, his black rain jacket. But look, just behind him is Contador, so he has to really watch. I think the Euskaltel rider is Vertigo, so Vertigo and Kolobnev are just in front, but it's at the front of the group behind is the flick of the elbow from the Katusha rider. It's rider Hazardale that's bringing everybody back, and Dan Martin must be really up for this and think that maybe if he can get in this small group that comes towards the finish of maybe 4, 5, 6 riders, that he can sprint towards the win.
We shall see. Again, Contador was just on the shoulder there, but these cyclists need to go now. 11.2 Ks to go. Remember, this climb reaches its summit with 9.5 kilometers left. And of course, into the harder part of it now. The gradient rising to almost 12%. Then it's 15%. And it won't be long before, as cautiously as possible, whilst trying to win a bike race, these supporters are going to see these speeding cyclists competing to the finish line. They're going to have to be risks to be taken, Brian. And of course, we've already seen 1 or 2 slips where not too many risks were being taken. So there could be fireworks on the way down as well.
Yeah, that's the situation you do. If you go on an attack on your own, go over the top, and you know, down the tricky descents. That's why I think it will be a general regroupment, and everybody will not want to take the risk. We have seen some riders crash already. Off the Sermano, we've seen Bardet pull his foot out, and you know, was really cautious, and you know, I think as the rain comes down heavier and heavier, this is going to be a dangerous finish, and I think maybe a group of 5 or 6 will come in towards the finish.
So Canada versus Azerbaijan in the Women's Under-17 World Cup kicking off. We'll bring you that next on Eurosport with the conclusion of the cycling. Azerbaijan, of course, playing as a home nation there in the Baku-hosted tournament. Back here to the north of Italy and Lombardy. Photographers preparing to get the shot that's going to be on the front of Gazzetta dello Sport tomorrow morning. A few shakes of their head down there. It's not the weather they wanted to be in at the end of September.
Well, it's threw it down at the start and it's thrown it down at the finish, and yeah, it's just, these are difficult conditions, and okay, at the start when you got that rain, and okay, you've got 250 kilometres to go, but when it comes down like this in the finish and you're trying to win the race, and the likes of Nibali who would, you know, try and push on in the descent, you can't do this, and it's going to be treacherous on this descent, but we've got to get up there first.
We have. Our helicopters have got to bring us some images if they can, because it's all happening, and we're a bit in the dark, I'm afraid, down at the finish. Swimming in the dark, I think, as well. As you can see, the rain has got considerably worse in the last few minutes. Absolutely teeming it down again. You mentioned the Philippe Gilbert win a couple of years ago in Lecco. I should say in Como, we're in Lecco today. It was freezing that day. It was around 3 weeks later in the year as well. But the rain was pouring down in similar fashion. Awaiting news from the course. There's some big turns to be done, even on the flat section at the bottom. I think from Endiga on the floor, nobody is safe at the minute. Of course, the descent from the top of the climb of Ello is a difficult one. Here we go at the top, though. Katusha attacking. We had Kolobnev up the front, remember.
Yeah, that's Rodriguez there, and you know, that's why it was set up, and Rodriguez feeling good, and you know, that's why Katusha have done so much work on the front. They sent Kolobnev up earlier on in this climb, and now it's Rodriguez on the attack, but he hasn't got a great advantage, and hopefully we'll see some more pictures of who is actually in this group behind, but it's going to be split all over this climb. It's just this descent is going to be slightly treacherous, and we could see some riders come back together. At the foot of the climb, there's still just under 3 kilometres of the flat towards the finish.
Rodriguez on the attack. We have Kolobnev up there. Katusha have plenty of options, and quick note on Kolobnev. Somehow he always does it, but he was there again in the Worlds last week.
Yeah, he's there. He's close. He's been coming close all the time. He normally likes this time of year, but he has his team goals, and for him to win, there's more chance of Rodriguez to win this, and Rodriguez is his team leader, and he wants the points as well for the UCI to top the table and you know, topple Bradley Wiggins. So you have to do things for the team sometimes, and in the Worlds he rides for Russia and gets a kind of more of a free hand, but today he's back here working for Rodriguez, who's still on the attack.
So sketchy news we're getting through on a very shaky race radio today. Joaquim Rodriguez is in front. We've seen that in the only image we've had in the last 30 seconds ago from the top. At the moment, the man following this man is Rigoberto Urán of Sky. That was the last report we had. Joaquim Rodriguez Oliver of Spain, looking for the win. Again, it's the race that he wants, but we have to say that perhaps in this weather, the descent on the final climb might be more important than the climb itself here today.
Yeah, just looking at Rodriguez. So we're over the top of the climb now. Rodriguez is on his own, and hopefully we'll be able to see what the gap is. We've got obviously the TV camera bike just behind him. This gap looks big enough that camera is actually in there. So hopefully as we pan out, we can see a couple of more motorbikes. He has got a healthy advantage, so that was a stinging attack that he must have made up that final climb. Now we've got, as we thought, a small group. We've got two Sky Riders, Henao and Urán, plus a Contador.
Those riders chasing down.
So Purito Rodriguez coming down on the descent alongside Contador. A couple of Sky Riders as well, both Colombians, Henao and Urán. Informed not long ago that there are 7 Colombians in that 30-odd rider group. Wonderful renaissance of Colombian cycling at the top level in the last couple of years or so. Lots of good young riders, but it's Spanish cycling that's looking for its first win here on the Lombardy. Rodriguez ahead.
Yeah, we've got Quintana for Movistar just at the back end here. The rider for BMC, I think, is maybe Sant'Ambrogio. And but 2 Sky Riders of Henao and Urán. If Urán wants to try and win this, also Contador for Saxo Bank Tinkoff. But if it is Sant'Ambrogio, he is prepared to ride, because if they want to win this race and having 2 Sky there, Urán just can't sit back. He has to ride and help Henao if they want to bring this back. 7 kilometres to go, and Rodriguez has got about 10-15 seconds as this group of 5 led by Team Sky of Henao and Urán.
Well, the hardest part of this descent comes with around 5.7 kilometres to go. That's when they go through Galbiate, and it's just under 6% gradient all the way down towards the little town of Pescate. Then the last couple of kilometres themselves in and around the lakes.
Wow, is that Oliver Zor's made it up to this group number 1 from last year, and he's made it up. I think it is. Obviously through the murk, can't see who else it would be in Radio Shack, but if it is, that's a tremendous ride.
It certainly is. The holder of the title, Oliver Zaug, is up there, and again, it could be magic once more. There it is, nice, big and clear. The number 1 of Oliver Zaug of Switzerland. Again, racing for Radio Shack Nissan Trek this year, was a part of the Leopard team that was absorbed by Radio Shack last winter. Here they go through Galbiate, then it's downhill once more, and the most tricky part of this descent. The word is at the moment there's around 10 seconds between the leader, Rodriguez, and this group of what I think is now 6 riders. 7 seconds is the latest report we're getting. There is Rodriguez. It's a race against time, but also a note of caution has to come in because the big descent is about to begin now. Looks around, asks for his advantage, tries to get rid of his sunglasses. The cameraman won't have them.
Just throw them away. Says you're going for a classic victory and you're worried about giving your sunglasses away. Throw them away and just forget about them.
Certainly with the historical significance that this would have for Joaquim Rodriguez. No Spaniard has ever won this race, I repeat, in 105 previous editions. Rodriguez pedaling away for dear life. It's been a wonderful season for him, and time to finish it with perhaps the crowning moment. We shall see. Zaug is in there, Quintana, as is Sant'Ambrogio, two Sky Riders from Colombia, Uran and Henao, alongside Alberto Contador, all chasing down this man who is 7 seconds in front, Joaquim Rodriguez. They're on the way down now, 6% average gradient. Twists, turns, road that is wet through, and of course the nerves of having seen a few big men fall already.
Yeah, they're going to be tired, they're going to be cold, but you know, with Rodriguez out front, they're only 7-10 seconds behind them, and one of these guys in this group of 6 could possibly win this if they work together. We did say it's just about 3 kilometers to go when we get off this descent, so 3 kilometers to go towards the finish. Is fairly flat, so 7 to 10 seconds are enough to bring this back.
Now being told that it's not in fact Rigoberto Uran, but Thomas Lukfist. Get that checked out. Didn't seem as though Thomas Lukfist was around there. The graphics people giving us Lukfist, I'm pretty sure that it is Uran alongside Henao. They tend to stick together like glue, those two. Where there's one, there's invariably the other. Now Kesyakov joining the chasing group as well. This is getting very, very interesting indeed. 4.4 Ks to go. And remember, with a growing chasing group, the last almost 3 kilometers are flat. Interesting to see, with just 7 seconds, how far Rodriguez can hold on. Actually,
I think you've got, is that a Rabobank rider now joining the front group as well? So is that Mollema or Tendam? But this is swelling all the time. But again, they have to bring this man back. We are 3 kilometers to go towards the finish, and they don't look as if they're making any inroads into Rodriguez. As again, this group led by Henao, Sant'Ambrogio, Contador, Uran, Zaug. As we move further down the line, they're not bringing this man back from Katusha.
Well, one thing is sure is that now, having got himself in that position, Oliver Zaug will give it a go. No doubting about that. For the minute, it is Rodriguez who's approaching the bottom of this climb now. It is Kesyakov at the back, and you say, right, exactly. There is the Rabobank rider at the back now. Rodriguez makes it to the bottom of the descent and is now flat all the way. 2.8 kilometers to go, and it's anybody's Lombardia still. Two and a half Ks to go. Ryder Hagedal and Samu Sanchez join the chase. It's growing ever bigger. It was calm, collected. There wasn't too many risks at all taken on the way down. Once it's become flat again, there are plenty of people interested in this.
Yeah, and so many riders are coming across. I think this is Nibali. It's trying to come across to this front group, and it's swelled so much. We have got so many riders in here, and sitting just up to in second place is Perlizzotti, the Italian champion, but it's Henao that's having to ride, but they're just looking behind, and with the swell, and everybody's looking to say who's actually here. Rodriguez has still got, I think, more of a gap than was described at 7 or 10 seconds. I think Rodriguez could have enough in the tank to take this one away today.
Rodriguez might have done it. 1.3 kilometers from home. Now, is this Nibali trying to come across as well? We shall see. Approaching the last kilometer. Not too much as far as images are concerned, or timing, I'm afraid, from the host broadcaster at the minute. We are waiting for confirmation of that gap. It's Rodriguez who's out, and as we can see from those grainy, wet, murky pictures, Rigoberto Urán is doing his best to get on to things into the last kilometre.
Yeah, I think for me, Rodriguez, if he stays upright in these final couple of kilometres, he's taking this victory here in Lombardia.
So inside the last K, and we're waiting Joaquim Rodriguez. Here we go, 10 seconds, the gap has grown again, as Brian suggested. Rodriguez should take this one. 6 hours, 35 minutes in the saddle, and approaching the last 500 metres of the 106th Tour of Lombardy. He sits up, makes sure he stays on his bike. Quick look behind, but it is going to be Joaquim Rodriguez Oliver who takes the win and becomes the first Spaniard ever to win the Giro di Lombardia. One less turn still to go. There are riders coming up behind, but you must feel he's more or less done it here. They're desperately trying to get on the back in hours there, as is Samuel Sanchez.
And it's Urán that comes round the corner with Sammy Sanchez and Santan Ambrogio, but it's this man here.
It is Joaquim Rodriguez Oliver, the first winner for Spain on the Lombardia, and in doing so he ends his wonderful season with one of the best victories of his career and finishes 2012 as the UCI's #1 cyclist. Sanchez in second, Urán in third. What a race, Brian. So many factors, and in the end, Spain, with all of those possibilities, finally did it. Damiano Cunego coming in. Oh, we didn't see too much of that last climb, I'm afraid. Weather getting in the way and host broadcaster not able to cope. However, it has been a wonderful fight on the way down. That's where the action took place. Rodriguez able to hold on to that group. Congratulated by just about everything. Look at what it means to him. A perfect year, he says, in his fairly well-spoken Italian, Joaquim Rodriguez. Alberto Contador saying, well, congratulations, you did well, and you deserved it. Well, after winning Flèche Wallonne this year, not often that a Spanish rider wins those type of classics. But this year, this classic was well won for the first time by a Spaniard, the likes of Heisdal and Martin coming across the line. Ivan Basso taking his time. I'm sure he'll receive a good applause on home ground.
Che vedevo la gente stanca, io mi trovo molto bene. Ho lottato per provare alla fine, veramente contentissimo. Grazie a voi, la linea.
Well, Pablito Rodriguez just saying that he saw everybody with tired legs today. It was a hard day, but he felt good. He tried his best, took the win when he needed to do. And of course, he is absolutely delighted with his win. So Samuel Sanchez confirmed the second. And Rigoberto Urán. We suggested it might have been the timing that got the Lugfist mix-up going. Brian Smith stuck to his guns, and it certainly was Rigoberto Urán. And with Rodriguez taking this win, Brian, has to be one of the biggest wins of his career.
Oh, for sure. The team rode magnificently. They had numbers in the end. They controlled the race, and this man is unbelievable. Throwing his bottle in the air. You know, what a great finish, and you know, so close in the end. Sammy Sanchez just taking the sprint from Urán there, Sant'Ambrogio there, Henao up there. Heisdal came better than Martin in the end. Good to see the Italian champion Pellizotti just in there. Contador, as we said, it was going to be very difficult for somebody to stay away, but we were proven wrong.
Well, a very tough race, says Alberto Contador. Tried to work the team for him, but of course he didn't have the team in the end to do it. But of course he felt in good shape, wanted to get there, wanted to try and make at least the podium in this race. But I'm happy after a great race that my friend Rodriguez won. And it was difficult, of course, despite everything else happening.
Bueno, yo creo que son carreras diferentes. La verdad que me alegro mucho por Joaquín. Ha hecho una
Just talking about the weather compared to what they had at the Vuelta, saying that the weather got its own back on us after wonderful weather at the Vuelta.
Sei contento di questo 2012 nonostante quello che ti è successo quella prima parte che è saltata?
Just being asked by the Italian journalist whether he's happy about his 2012 season despite the suspension. But of course, Contador saying he's delighted at coming back to win the Vuelta. Won, of course, in Turin the other day, and he's achieved a very, very high level of performance.
Grazie Alberto. Allora avete sentito, ci ha detto nonostante I problemi.
And he wants one final word towards you lot, the fans, saying thank you for welcoming back, and he's enjoyed racing in front of passionate and loving supporters. So this looks to be the moment again that the race was won. Left turn from Joaquim Rodriguez in there, out in the pedals, looking behind. Flashes going off each time he goes past. It was dark, it was murky, but it was a win that was born out of hard work and an excellent 2012 from Joaquim Rodriguez. Of course, he's been close in all the Grand Tours this year. He's won a couple of classics. Can he make that final step up and actually win a Grand Tour?
I think he can. It's just unfortunate he's been beaten by the better man in the Grand Tours that he's ridden. He came so close in the Giro. Maybe not so close in the Vuelta, but this is a big win for him. Normally when we see Joaquim Rodriguez, he wins, likes to flesh alone at the top of mountains. This is a classic that he's won on his own on the flat.
106 in Lombardia in a few moments.
Joaquim Rodriguez, the 2012 winner of Lombardia, the Tour of Lombardy, with Samuel Sanchez making it a Spanish one to Rigoberto Urán for Colombia after what has been a superb 2012 for the South American nation in third. And it's an all-Spanish-speaking podium. Superb stuff from Katusha, brilliant from Rodriguez, and another win after a superb year for him. Straight into celebration. Everybody waiting for him at the line. Such a contested race, and even the bad weather didn't make things bad for us. It's been a great finish to the highest of high-level cycling season. The last of the 5 monuments, with Joaquim Rodriguez taking the win. So arms aloft, unique celebration to boot. If only he'd have got rid of those sunglasses in the same fashion, of course, he might have won by an extra second or so. But this is how it stood. 9 seconds in the end between Rodriguez, Sanchez and Urán. Mauro Santambrogio with the 4th place. Sergio Henao again there or thereabouts. Heystal, Mollema and Zhao get again. Another superb ride from him to finish in 8th spot. So the overall results in the end show a Spanish 1-2 with Rodriguez after 6 hours, 36 minutes and 27 seconds under very testing conditions, taking the win. So he finishes the year as the UCI's top-ranked cyclist. One less prize for Bradley Wiggins this year, but Rodriguez, for his overall form, has deserved it. So Wiggins 2nd, Boonen 3rd, Nibali 4th, Valverde finishing the top 5 of the UCI World Ranking Tour. So more cycling coming up on Eurosport. Paris Tour not too far away. Remember to join us for that at 6 p.m. on Sunday. That is Central European time. So this is the scene here at the finish line in Lecco. Bergamo to Lecco has been the 106th edition of Lombardia, as it's now branded. Formerly the Tour of Lombardy, the Giro di Lombardia. End of a wonderful week of cycling in northern Italy. We're back in 2013 with the Italian cycling on the home of cycling in Eurosport. And at the moment, we're off to Azerbaijan. Canada versus Azerbaijan in the Under-17 World Cup. More of that coming up in a little few minutes. The picture on the left there is the picture we leave you with. Joaquim Rodriguez Oliver. From Brian Smith and myself, Rob Hatch. It's been a delight having you along. We'll see you soon on the Home of Cycling.